This is the June 16th meeting of the Oceano Advisory Council, and welcome everybody. We'll start with the salute to the flag. Would you like to lead us in the flag?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
With
liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. We're actually short 2 members this evening, but we do have a quorum. I'll ask the folks to indicate that they're here. Aline Villa.
Present.
April Dury.
Here.
Charles Varney here. We have visitors tonight, the Laters, and we'll be getting to you in a little bit. I don't see that we have any guest reports other than our favorite highway patrolman, Commander Klingenberg.
You're so nice, Charles. Thank you.
Always nice to see you, Commander.
Thank you. Good to see you all as well. Thank you. And you're ready for me?
Yeah, we're ready for you.
Okay. For the month of May, 5 collisions in and around the Oceano area. We had a solo vehicle private property collision back into a fire hydrant, minor damage to the vehicle, of course, significant damage to the fire hydrant. We had a solo vehicle versus a dog on Highway 1 and Henderson Lane. We had a vehicle strike a mailbox on Air Park Drive and Mendel Drive, or east of Mendel Drive. We had a 2 vehicle, two vehicle, but the vehicle hit a parked vehicle and then fled the scene. We had no information on the type of vehicle or license plate or anything like that on Beach Street, west of 22nd. And then we had a 2 vehicle right-of-way collision in the intersection of North Swing and Truman Drive. No injuries there, minor damage to the vehicles. As I said, none of those collisions had any injuries to any of the drivers or passengers in the vehicles at that time. Those were the 5 collisions. On Tuesday, I was asked about the radar trailer. We're going to get the radar trailer back out onto Highway 1 there in the vicinity of Central Market. It'll be in our regular rotation. I had the fortunate, I'm not sure that's the right way to say that, but we were fortunate enough to have 2 radar trailers there for a little while. One of those has been taken back by one of my adjoining areas. So, but we got ours. Ours was a little bit of a hit and miss from a mechanical perspective, but we've got that up and running. And so we'll have that out back out on Highway 1 there by Central Market here in the near future. And what do you have for me? Yes, ma'am, April.
I think it's probably about our year anniversary of my asking about the parking limit sign.
Okay, nothing's happened there.
Never heard another word, never got.
Well, I definitely transferred it over to the county. Those signs are county signs.
Oh.
And the county was going to address that. I'll follow up. Yep.
Okay, thank you.
I'll follow up. I'm sorry, it's been a year. I apologize.
That's okay.
But,
I assume it's a year. Feels like a year.
Yeah, it does. I'm with you. I caused most of that year.
Okay.
So I'll follow up on that.
And is there any jurisdiction you have at all over the fireworks in our community? You live here too. You have to be here.
I wish I did. And this is a terrible thing to say. I have never not looked forward to the 4th of July so much that I don't look forward to it here. My dogs, and it's mainly because of my dog. It's not, anything earth shattering, but my dogs just absolutely lose their mind from about June the 4th till, several days after July, because every weekend, well, even last night we were, we were headed to bed and we heard 3 or 4 fireworks, well after 10 o'clock last night. So yeah, it's an all month thing. I've talked to the sheriff. I've talked to, the various South Station commanders that we've had. It's, right. So far, it's just, there's not anything that Highway Patrol can do.
Who does the law call when the law wants the law?
Yeah, that's crazy. I called, first couple of years I lived here, I called in and I just said, hey, what's the deal with this? And they said, believe me, you're one of, some unknown amount of callers that had called in and stuff. And so, I hate to say it, I've gotten even to the point of throwing up my hands, but that's kind of where I'm at. But at some point, I don't know, there's got to be a way to address it. I don't have a big enough brain to be able to figure it out yet, though.
Okay, well, thank you for being honest as a fellow neighbor in our community.
Yeah, I'm with you. No, I am absolutely with you. It frustrates the heck out of me and my wife, big time.
Just briefly on that, the big step that was taken, and the sheriff pushed this really, really a lot, is that OCSD finally passed a new regulation that you could only have safe and sane fireworks on July 4th. Before that, it was 365, 24/7. I mean, it was still supposed to be safe and sane, but we're kind of unsafe and insane when it comes to fireworks around here. So, but he said that was really a first step to, get a boundary around it, and then it's basically starting to have to change the culture.
That's not going to be a short process of that.
It's not. Any other questions for the leader? Greg, thank you very much for showing, and have a good evening.
Okay, I will. You're more than welcome. It's good to see you all. Thanks for putting up with me. Yep. Have a great night. Okay.
Okay, moving on to review and approval of the minutes from June 6th. I know that you've looked at them, so are there any corrections or additions to the minutes that anybody has?
No.
I move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, it's been moved by April, seconded by Aline. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the minutes have been passed. And now we go on to new business, and the Oceano Ice Company looking to replace their well. And Mr. Lader, maybe you don't know, but the Oceano Advisory Council is simply that, advisory. And as a courtesy, the county sends us all development and building permits by and large for us to review and provide feedback to the Board of Supervisors and the Planning Commission if we have any, whatever we decide, whether we fully support it or we have some concerns, we'll share those. So welcome to our meeting. I know you've been keeping our community chill for a long time, and why don't you just give us a quick kind of the overview of what brought this about and what you want to do down there at the ice house.
Well, let me just first say that my father, while going to, the Murray family, Jess Murray, I don't know what her maiden name was, started a dairy at the location in 1923. And in 1938, they then changed, and I don't know when she married Maynard. I only knew them as a small boy. They had a place over behind Juan's, and one of my excitements was to put pennies on the railroad tracks as a young boy, as when we would sleep on their floor. But my father worked there 40, 48, 49, 50, after World War II, one going to Cal Poly, he worked swing shift, pulling blocks of ice out. My mother taught kindergarten at the in the Oceano School District. And so I've been here about this stuff a long time. We cool all kinds of different crops. I think you might all be pretty surprised at the technology of post-harvest technology, about how things have got to get cold and stay cold when shipping from here. And so we were doing that originally by hauling blocks of ice, and then we started grinding up the blocks of ice to make slush, to put on broccoli and cilantro and Brussels sprouts and some others. But then the price of freezing a block of ice to then grind it up to make slush, we kind of said, nah, let's not do that. PG&E doesn't have to be that much of a partner in what we're doing. And so we took out the block ice, and we were having the other thing that sort of happened is that with the price of gasoline went up some years ago, truckers didn't like hauling loads of iced broccoli because there was so much more weight with the ice. But there were and are buyers on the East Coast and in the Midwest who don't think something has been cooled right unless there's a little bit of ice left on them. So we shut the blocks down about 9 years ago, and now as oil was getting cheap again, people are saying, yeah, we want our stuff iced. And so we were starting to use we're starting to send our customer stuff across the street to Povey. Well, now we're kind of paying them a whole lot and introducing our customers to them. And so we want to put our ability to make slush ice in and get a slush ice maker that won't spin the meter like block ice did. And so that's that. And I went to talk to Filipponi and Thompson in Atascadero. I guess they're a very respected well driller, and told them I wanted to refresh our well. And they said, well, we can't refresh your well. We'll drill you a new one. Okay, fine. Drill me a new one. So the new one's going to be about 10 feet from where the old one is. And the well we have is about 35 foot deep, and they don't drill them less than 100. So that's what we want to do, to continue doing the business we've been doing for, well, my family's been doing since 1968. And we are the only independent cooling facility between Cambria and Beachside Cooling down in Guadalupe. And so we're kind of a critical part of the economy here. One of the pieces that you probably don't know, maybe, I don't know, that for every hour after the first 2 hours that a strawberry isn't cooled, it loses a day of its shelf time. And so all of the different crops that we cool, red leaf, green leaf lettuce, bok choy, Napa, we cool some peppers and bok choy Napa for the tallies, and another couple of growers here in town. And so if we're not here, the independent farmers don't have a place to cool their crop. So that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to make ours back into a full service cooling company.
Just one one question. Is it, so to apply for, I guess that is the county treating this as a new well?
Yes, well, no, this is being, I mean, the permit, I have a permit from the county, a minor use permit for a replacement well.
Okay. And do
I
you
mean,
don't have,
and the old well was pumping 150 gallons a minute. We were putting out 48 tons of ice a day.
wow,
I don't think we'll do that much this time, but I don't know. I mean, it's the marginal dollars to do something less and then not have enough and have to do it twice is, I'm just trying to replace what was there.
right. And you didn't have to go to the Regional Water Quality Control Board for anything?
No,
Nope.
no.
That was just my curiosity. When are there any of the other council members have questions or Mr. Later?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, he needs a new well to keep the cooling going. And they're calling it a replacement, which to me, it sounds like it's a brand new, brand new replacement.
Well, I think one of the problems, I got a rejection today from the Oceano Community Service District saying that they didn't even know I had a well. And apparently there's no, because the well was put in so long ago, there's no record of it.
Mhm.
And but I can show you where the hole is, where we have the pipe coming out of the ground. And it's, you know, it's a rusty old pipe.
Yeah.
You're basically asking it for the new well because you want more slush capacity
Well, I need to create slush capacity again. We were grinding up the ice, the block ice, but it takes a lot of energy to freeze the core of a 2 foot by 1 foot by 4 foot block of ice. It takes a lot. And
Yeah.
so the idea of making block ice and then grinding it up to make slush, we actually have bought a machine, you know, like the ice makers you have when you get your drinks at wherever, except that it's on an industrial scale. It's 5 foot in diameter and it's got a little barrel on the inside and water drips across it. And then when it gets a half an inch thick, in effect, a spatula comes and scrapes it off and it falls down into a bin. And we can make ice much more energy efficiently that way.
Any other, April, do you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I have a few questions. How long ago was it that your company was making this slushy ice and that you've stopped doing it? How long ago was it?
Well, from
Roughly.
I'm trying to think. Probably the mid 70s until 9 years ago.
Okay, so it's 220, so roughly 2010.
Yes.
Okay,
2011,
11. Okay,
because my father passed shortly thereafter.
okay. And you were using the well to draw that water for that particular use then at that time?
Yeah, yeah.
And then have you drawn water from that well since then?
We have a smaller pump in that well. We also have a method of, it's called Oceanovac. You can look it up. It's a patent that I put together some years ago.
Really cool, actually. I did look it up. You guys are pretty interesting of the stuff you guys do.
Well, it's a long story. And I've had a lot of jobs over time. And vacuum cooling is how all of your leafy vegetables are cooled.
Hmm.
So your red leaf, green leaf, um, romaine are cooled. They are cooled. Your thin leaf lettuces are cooled by spraying water on them and then evaporating the water off of them.
Oh,
While
wow.
your head lettuce, sometimes known as iceberg lettuce, I don't know if any of you know the story of how it, do you know how it came to be known as iceberg lettuce?
No.
This goes right back to block ice, is that here it's known as head lettuce. But back when we were putting blocks of ice on railroad cars, and those cars would need to be re-iced in Denver, Dallas, Chicago, they would open up the bunker on the end of the railroad cars, and all of those blocks would have melted into an iceberg. And so that is how head lettuce became nicknamed iceberg lettuce, where they would then have to break the iceberg out to reinstall new blocks of ice. And so when we were having some problems with I don't know how all you guys' physics are, but it's everybody knows that water evaporates at a lower temperature at higher altitude. That's because of pressure. So, you know, your water boils at 208 degrees instead of 212. Well, that whole system is how you cool leaf lettuces that don't have enough moisture in their tissue. But the previous method was cooling the lettuce with cold water. And the problem, and so they were cooling by conduction of conducting cold water over it and evaporation. And the evaporation is a much stronger cooling. And one of the problems that we were having was that if you were putting 35-degree water on the lettuce and then trying to evaporate it off, if you pulled the refrigeration pressure low enough, it would freeze that water and make spots on it. So it would look like it had the measles. And you couldn't see it when you shipped it, but by the time it got back wherever, people would say, hey, this is a bad load. We want a discount. You shipped us bad lettuce. And so in trying to figure out and keep our customers, said you have to keep the water at a level that's to ensure it will evaporate off and not leave little beads of water or freeze beads of water on the lettuce. Or if you didn't bring it down far enough, those little beads of water would be sucked into the head of lettuce when you relieve the pressure in the vacuum chamber. So the story was, do we use water? Yes, we have about, I'm not sure how many hundreds of gallons, maybe 120 gallons per vacuum cooling load when we're cooling the leaf lettuce. And because we've made it cold, we then release it and it flows into a water table recharge pit at the far side of our cooling yard over towards the airport.
The
So
question
we sort
of
of
that,
recycle it.
okay, of that 120 gallons that you just mentioned, is that from the well?
Yes,
Okay, so you are drawing roughly 120 gallons
for
per
each
cycle or
load.
whatever you call it, load. Okay.
Yeah, and a
Um,
load can be 20 minutes to 40 minutes.
okay, and you're doing that 24/7, 5 days a week, or how would it?
Depends on what the farmers are growing. There are times when we are starting at, we won't get a first load until 9 o'clock in the morning, say, because they're starting at 7, putting it on a truck.
Right.
It gets to us, we do a load, and if this particular farmer has found a market someplace and they order however, or a chain of markets, sometimes we work, you know, in the growing season from Labor Day to Halloween, we can operate 18 hours a day.
Wow.
With 120 gallons every roughly 40 minutes.
Generally not all of that time, but we will get loads, things will get backed up so that as farmers bring us different loads, we can't cool it all. And so sometimes, and then when they're bringing us the last load at say 5 o'clock, but there's several loads ahead of them, sometimes that takes into, it really depends on what's being grown and what time it's being harvested.
You
And
prioritize that based on what you know the produce needs and what your capacity is.
that's what I'm trying to do by restarting the well, is that all of it now, Brussels sprouts have become very popular. And so as has cilantro. So all of a sudden we're getting more boxes that we need ice for, while also doing the lettuce.
Okay.
And let me just say that water that cycles through, we have a drain underneath at the base of the vacuum chamber, and it's a floor drain and a pipe that takes it over to, we call it the Froggy Pond, and it percolates back down.
Okay, so you're
So it
recharging
doesn't really leave the property. It just
right.
has a little vacation and a little sunshine.
Visit some vegetables and moves on down. Okay, then another question I have is the water that you're running through the well, is that well metered in any way?
No, and but you know, and we do the OC, we have the Oceano
CSE?
district water for our toilets
offices,
and
right.
drinking water and all that. But this gets back to the real meter is the PG&E bill.
Right. So you're not getting charged on the actual usage of water, you're getting charged on the electricity to use the water.
To bring the water to the surface and then send it back.
Right. So this rejection from the OCSD, what does that mean to you? How is
It's not a rejection. It's a questions to me. They're
Mhm.
saying, well, I should have it here next to me.
It's okay.
They're saying, gee, we don't see a record of ever having a well there.
Exactly.
They're saying it's my uses are agricultural, but it's an asphalt yard. It can't be agricultural. And so there's parts of agricultural business that happen on asphalt, you know. It was simply, it's not a rejection, it's a
Okay,
question.
I'm sorry. I thought that was your word.
And I may have used that word, but some of it was like, you're not agriculture. Well, yes, I am.
Well, you're in the production of ice, really.
Well, I'm in
Cooling. Yeah.
everything that we like. When a truck pulls up to get loaded, we open it up and we have a little infrared gun and we take the temperature of the inside of that truck. And unless it meets the optimum temperature of the produce that we're hauling, and that's a wide range from 45 to 35, we don't load them until they're cold inside. And then we take the temperature of all the produce that comes in the yard and we mark it down, and it gets a barcode, and that barcode, then we enter the temperature of the produce going out, and the driver of the truck signs it that this was the temperature of the produce when we put it in the truck.
Okay.
And all of that is about kind of protecting our farmers, because we've got little guys and a load of Brussels sprouts is worth a lot of money.
So then, to follow up on what you guys do, has there been any health department or ag department looking at your process for the water that you've run through your system that you said took a vacation and then gets charged back into the ground, the aquifer? Has the health department ever looked at that? Do you
We
get
have
reviews?
we have 6 inspections a year.
Okay,
USDA, FDA, state, county. There's a company called Primus, if you know of them. They are contractors, so we pay to have all of our. They take swabs from the floor drains of our cooling rooms to make sure that there's no biotic growth in there. We have to 3 times a day pour a little bit of chlorine and water down all of our drains. So we do a set of tests, and all of the farmers that cool from us, they have to have their own tests performed. So we have, following the sicknesses that have been created by bagged salads and such.
right, listeria and
The
all those
industry
things, yeah.
is,
Mhm.
for the last 20 years, has been increasing its vigilance in every way.
Right, yeah, we still have them.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Well, I just
it's
wanna make
actually kind of,
sure-
huh?
I just wanted to make sure for the safety of our water supply, for the safety of your neighbors, for the safety of the produce
All of
itself,
those things.
that has there been any environmental study? Like, it sounds like your well wasn't even known, like it's just been in use. And because way back in the day, everybody had wells around here, and then eventually it went to the CSD and we have an infrastructure, and yours just kind of missed that because maybe it's mostly ag and just didn't get seen on a residential or commercial level. I get that. But I just want to make sure that the health of the community, the health of the food, that there's been testing, that there's been environmental study done on the water coming out of there, et cetera. That's why I asked those questions.
Well, if you'd like, one of the things that we have a set of 3-ring binders now. 20 years ago, it was a single 3-inch 3-ring binder. It's now a set of 3 4-inch binders, talking about all the different things you have to test, and we get tested on them continually. It's
Okay.
the farmers don't want to be sued for having bad product. We don't want to be sued for having passed. And this is the other part of getting rid of the water with each load. One of the biggest problems was that if you had a load that had some sort of contamination and you kept that same water in your vacuum tube the whole time, you rinsed that same infected water over all of your stuff all the time. And that's actually, if you've gone through my patents, that's actually the second one or third, I don't know, where I was wondering whether the spots on the lettuce were caused by bacteria. And so one of the patents is to vacuum cool with non-residual methods, ultraviolet light. And so I did that for a while as I was working towards learning what the problem was. You know, the first thought back in the day was that it was a bacterial problem because of the chlorine load you had to put in. And at the end of the day, it wasn't necessarily that the lettuces were bad, but the water that was being sprayed on them was washing mud off of all the pallets that sat on the ground as they got loaded. So we early on started using ultraviolet light to cycle the water to not, because the chlorine, too much chlorine was does ruin and leaves a taste on the lettuce. Okay, let's get rid of the chlorine. What do we do? Okay, we'll do this. And then I discovered it wasn't biotic. Even the biotic stew that was in the bottom, it was just good to get rid of that. And so we got rid of that.
Gotcha.
That brought about warm water, and then we didn't have the spotting. And so it was, those patents are old now, but it was a learning process.
So April, could you wrap up your questioning here?
I really didn't have that many. I really wasn't the one. I have two concerns. The first concern is the safety of the water in our aquifer, et cetera, that's being used and then recharged back in. And then my second concern is this water being paid for? Because I have to pay for my water that whether, I pay for the electricity to get it into my home, and I have to pay for the actual water itself. So those are my two main concerns. And you addressed the safety very well, but now it's a matter of, are we getting money for the water? Because if the OCSC makes money, then that's money I have to pay less of as a ratepayer, and all of the rest of us have to pay less as a ratepayer. But it also helps pay for the water in general for all of us for that fund. That's why I ask.
We have a very thin margin business. If we had to pay the Oceano Service District, we'd shut down.
Yeah.
We just can't.
You were probably under the same regulation of the farmers, right? Where it's free or practically free.
Well, it's
Well, it's free when
water
you
that
don't know
we've
a well
used for, because we pay for it to come out of the ground, and and it goes back in.
So, yeah, okay. You're basically you're treated like a farmer, which in a way, I kind of see you, you're essential.
Well, and the farmers can't do without us.
Mhm.
You cannot ship produce that's not cold.
But
Any
you've been
distance.
not doing it since 2011.
What's that?
I said you've been not doing this since 2011.
No. We have iced our stuff at the company across the street. We've been paying them for their
Gotcha.
slush ice that they get from their well.
Gotcha.
And because the amount of, and we don't really like taking our customers over to the people across the street.
Right, I understand that.
And we're doing so much business there, it's now making sense for us to buy our own ice making, or we have bought used ice making equipment so that we can then not send it across the street. So no, we've been icing product this whole time.
Right.
We just haven't been doing it. We've been
Paying someone
subcontracting it,
else
if you
to do
will.
it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, those are my two main concerns, Charles.
Okay.
Any other questions? Then, if you don't have anything else to share, Mr. Lader, we can, I'm looking for a motion on this project.
So I move or motion that this project gets approved. That the replacement well be approved for the Oceano Ice Company.
I'll
Thank
second
you.
that. Any
Uh,
discussion? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
Okay, opposed. So the motion passes 2-1.
So we will be sending a recommendation to the county to approve this project.
Thank you. I can stay in business.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Later.
Thank you.
You're welcome to hang around or enjoy your evening.
We're so exciting.
No, I keep testing negative for COVID, but I feel pretty crummy.
Oh, no.
I'm going to bed.
Oh, get better.
Well, I went to a wedding last Saturday and no, a whole bunch of people got it. But I'm 4 times or 3 times vaccinated, so I'm okay. So, thank you for the approval. And anytime you want to a tour of all the different ways we cool stuff.
I do.
Yeah, I don't know what, how it concerns you, but we've been doing it we've been doing it different ways for almost a century. So,
Wow.
and
Thanks for being part of our community.
it keeps the local people farming, and that's a good thing. So,
Cool.
I'll let you all go. I'm going to try to figure out how to, maybe I can, there's an X here.
Thank you for-
Goodbye
for
if I'm
being in
successful. Oh,
business so
there's
long.
at the bottom it says leave. Okay. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Mm.
He's got it. There he goes.
Um,
We're just giving away free water while the rest of us pay for it. I'd love to get free gasoline so I could stay in business.
That's agriculture. If you have the right to
But
put a
he's,
bill down.
where did we learn that he was actually ag? He's in manufacturing.
I don't know, it's an agricultural process that he's engaged in. Maybe that's how it works. I don't know. That's why I asked him if he'd had to get a well permit from Water Quality Control Board. He may be in for a couple of surprises down the line here. I don't know.
Yep.
So next item is at-large member nomination. So I put this on the agenda because we sort of kicked the can down the road from last week. Bonnie said that she was willing to serve as an at-large member. My memory's a little fuzzy, but we did agree to consider it at the next meeting, was my understanding.
Well, Bonnie's not here, so I do know that she was interested. Maybe we should postpone it for the next meeting. Or did you just want to talk about?
Well, I'm fine with that. I'd like her to, answer the
Questionnaire?
do the questionnaire. I think that would be reasonable.
I knew nothing, so this is all news to me.
Yeah, I do remember her. I think it was right before April joined the meeting, but I do remember.
Oh, okay.
I do remember us stating that that would be the right procedure to go about sending her the questionnaire.
Right. Okay, well, I will circle back with her and tell her it will be agendized for the first meeting in July. And for her to complete the questionnaire if she's still interested. Anything else on this one?
Maybe bringing back the bylaws for discussion on the membership section itself.
Okay, say a little more about that.
Say a little more right now, you mean?
Yeah, I'm not. You want to bring
In the way that our bylaws are written and the restrictions we have within our bylaws, that maybe we should want to talk about considering revising those. There are other advisory councils that allow people who own businesses in the community to be advisory council members, regardless of where they live. So I think that there is a wide spectrum of what could be considered a member, And that's what I'd like for us to discuss maybe at one of the meetings to, as it pertains to our bylaws.
Okay, do you want to agendize that for the next meeting? I mean, I'm just making a note here.
I thought, yeah, I guess, but I thought that we specifically had before amended that section to keep people that were away from the Oceano community.
Right, we had a lot
Yeah,
of things
taking
in
that
the
section out.
bylaws, and yeah, we had things like don't curse each other out, be respectful, and people did what they wanted then too. So I think that we've created a set of bylaws. I think of it this way, and I'll just be brief. You know how parents, when they can't control their child and they just make more and more restrictive rules so that eventually they're just basically trying to corral their child in with the rules? I feel like that's kind of what we've done with our bylaws over time because it was so unruly for so long, and that we've created a very restrictive, negative set of bylaws where we could be more inclusive if we have the right people to enforce those things and take leadership roles and to curb when people are not being respectful of each other. Then we don't have to have such a restrictive set of bylaws, is my concern.
Well, I mean, I think it's your right as a council member to, you know, want an item on the agenda and bring, you want to bring information forward and make a proposal or make your arguments. Would you like to agendize that for the next meeting?
And literally just discuss. That's fine with me.
Okay. All right. I made a mistake. Well, anything else on that topic before we move on?
No,
Okay.
No.
And I don't really know procedurally, but I had intended and I forgot to have a third item under new business, which is the OAC letter on the airport renovations for the Coastal Commission. And we have not, I don't know when that topic is going to be on the Coastal Commission agenda.
I
and-
did look up the Coastal Commission agenda, but I do not understand how to read it because it looks like it's multiple days. And when I saw the consent section, I could not see any detail of what the consent was. So I did try to look and see if it was coming up anytime soon, but I could not understand it.
Well, yeah, I think that I'll send an email to to our local Coastal Commission staff and ask them
Okay.
when it's going to be on the agenda.
'Cause I do support us writing either a recap of what we sent into the county or wording it in a way that's more beneficial that for the Coastal Commission's viewing, but definitely support us reiterating to the Coastal Commission our concerns we had when we presented it to the county.
Okay. Well, so then I'll have this on under new business because it is a new letter. It's we'll borrow heavily on the county one that Aline put together. Okay.
so it wasn't the county, was it the county? Yeah, it was county.
That was
But
the airport.
so
Vision.
it might come out in July. There's nothing, I looked up the Coastal Commission meetings and I didn't see anything.
I want to say it was,
So I'm thinking it's gonna be in July. So it might be kind of late. Right.
Maybe, well, then that planner. Anybody remember her name, the planner on?
I don't have it right off the top of my head, but I could probably find it
She's the one that came to.
the meeting. Yeah, well, it would be in our referral pack, wouldn't it? On the,
It
Was
would,
that her?
yes.
yeah, it would be on the, not the 16th, past agendas. 22. It was probably the May 19th one. Sorry, I'm doing this in real time. Nope, it was not that one. We can find that offline if we need to.
Yeah,
12.
Just send the letter to the planner.
well, I think a planner will know when it's coming up on the coastal commission. I mean, that's a piece of information.
Okay, email.
Oh, it wasn't embedded in the agenda for that meeting. When we're done, one of us can find that and email it. But we want to send it to the coastal commission itself, right?
Correct.
I'm not sure what the planner at the counties, why we were asking. Coastal commission meeting.
So the person who sent the letter was Henry Bonifaz,
Oh, yes, that name's familiar.
environmental specialist. And do you want his email? I could send you his email, Charles, or do you want it now or?
Why don't you just send it to me?
Okay,
Their last meeting was June 8th at the coastal commission, and their next meeting is July 13th. But the one that was dated June 8th, I don't know if it was already on the consent agenda because I couldn't understand how to read it.
Okay, July 13th is.
Is the next one, yeah.
Okay.
and I don't know if you saw, but today I sent, I don't know what time I sent, it was kind of late, but I did send the application that they submitted to the county. I sent it to both you guys.
It's an application for what?
Yeah,
The application to the coastal commission from the county.
oh, maybe that's what I saw that had that name on it. I did see something from you, I mean, now that you say that.
Does it have a meeting date on it?
No, it's an application to the coastal commission, so that the application,
Yeah, okay.
so that they have it. They sent it last Thursday.
Okay.
Yes, you sent it
Today.
at 3:22 today,
Mhm.
and I see your email. Your application has been received. So it sounds like it hasn't been heard before the coastal commission then yet.
No, because they just, I
Okay.
mean, last Thursday,
Mhm.
they sent it on the 9th.
A week ago.
Somebody's saying they're trying to get into our meeting. Do you see anybody trying to attend, Charles?
No,
No,
recording.
Okay, I'll ask them again.
The easiest way is probably through the website if they want to come in.
okay. Then moving on to old business. Vacation rental ordinance. I'll start with the Dury spreadsheet.
The Dury report. Dun, dun, dun.
Report. Yeah, I had to scroll over to find the,
Yeah, I did it for my own edification first, and then I realized when you asked, I'm like, oh, I bet no one really realized that.
and even now when I scroll over, it still doesn't show up. It's
Okay,
weird.
so the green that you see in column C
Yes.
is the Emmy from the planning department way back in the day when she was around, gave me an original list of what her department showed as rentals in Oceano. And then I found all the rest of them. And then the ones that are marigold colored are the ones that it's the same property. So if you look in column E under column D on yours, Charles, where it says APN, everywhere it's marigold, you'll see that's the same APN. So they had 2 or more permits at that property. That's all that means.
Okay.
So I wanted to make sure we had those people's names on record, but it's the same property, same
Yeah.
APN, just different permit numbers. or
So
Permit applicants.
And
Wow, so the green was what she sent you, so she left out like more than half.
And when we last dealt with her, before we realized she was leaving, or as she was realizing she was leaving, that was where we left it, was that she was going to compare those, what I came up with what she came up with, to find the discrepancy, and then that never happened.
Yeah, wow, okay.
so, and how did you find these?
On the county website, there is a section where I can look up permits by area. And so these are all legal, permitted, I mean, at the time, based on the date, permitted, that the county shows as being permitted. So I don't know why just Emmy had an incomplete list for some reason. And then if you scroll to the bottom of that list, Charles, there's right here where it's red.
Yeah,
You see the red and all those? Those are the ones that I found on Airbnb and VRBO website that are not, I can't find them permitted through the county, and they were not on Emmy's list.
mhm.
So you see there's 112 known at that time, and then another, what, 12 that aren't even above board.
So as far as we know, there's 112 permitted vacation rentals in Oceano.
The last I looked, yes, which was less than a year ago.
And we don't know, other than going through these,
What I can
the
tell you,
addresses.
and I did that, if you, I think I know what you're asking. So I went through and I sorted them by address, and first by street, which is column I on yours,
Yeah,
and then by street number. So if we start, Air Park is the first one that is a west, I'm just gonna say west side, beach side, whatever you wanna call it. Starting with Air Park and going down, everywhere that I knew that, I mean, we all know which ones are the beach addresses. There are, I apologize, I did my numbering after I sent it to you. There are, on that side of the road, 90, oh, I'm sorry, 88 that the county has shown as being in compliance and permitted. And then on my list, there's three more on that side of town that the county does not have permits for.
3, you're talking about the beach side?
Yes, this is all on the beach side.
Okay,
So out of 112 that we know are legit at that time, 88 of them were beachside.
so then, and the number for the land side?
So I'm gonna do my math real quick, if you guys,
So 88 from 112?
from 112, correct? 24.
24, yeah.
And again, those are, they have permit numbers. They seem to have gone through the process.
Okay,
And then 113 to 123, that's what, another 10 or 11. There are 3 from that, down at the bottom of the red is. There are 3 from that that are on the beach side that are not kosher at this point at all,
as far as we know.
as far as we know. And
And-
it's because I found them on the web.
Mhm. And numbers 128 and 29, there's no person listed. All you have is beach.
Correct. All I knew was an APN, and there was no way to cross-reference to find out. I mean, I can look up that APN, but it wasn't giving me something realistic for a person's name. Otherwise, where I could find a name or a business name, I looked up, because, you know, I know how to use the county website to search APNs and all that stuff. So those two, it's the same. Oh, you know what it is? That is that building that's across from the Elks Lodge in Oceano, right around the lagoon. You know, that two-story, I think it is, like not townhouses, but like timeshare looking hotel-y place. You know what I'm talking about. It's on the corner of like Air Park and Pier.
Yeah.
So those first two, you see they're the same APN numbers. Those are that building. I just don't know who the owners are because that building is listed differently because the whole building is its own APN number. But so I could find unit number 111 was one of them. And then the other one was either 610 or 611 or 610 and 611. It was hard to tell. That's not a place I could just go knock on the doors or go look around or try to understand anything about it. But all those are 444 Pier Avenue. That's what that building's address is.
And this Pepper Tree Inn,
Yeah,
now is this up on the, this is on Cienega, Pismo Sands
It
Art
is.
Park,
you know where I live, right? And
right?
I live between 21st and 22nd. So if you're gonna go on the other side of 22nd, going towards 23rd, it's that
The first one,
RV park. Yeah, the very,
right?
yeah, not the mobile home parks. It's before the mobile homes park start. It's that RV park. It's called Sands something. Pismo Sands RV Park. You're muted, Aline, whatever you're saying.
It's right by your house.
Yeah, it is right at my house.
Mhm.
And those are not in any way permitted by the county. The county wouldn't even allow those if somebody tried to permit them.
Well, okay, my first question is, what do we do with this last bit of information? If anything.
The first thing that came to my mind, I don't know that I have a solution or any other thing to say, is in reading what you wrote up of the 7 pages, Charles, you had capped it, and I know this is just a rough draft, at 100 on that side of the
Right.
ocean.
Beach side.
We're at 91 already.
Mhm.
It doesn't leave very many spots.
No.
I'm,
Oh,
yeah,
if- when you take a walk down there, you could actually see that most of them are already vacation rentals. I mean, there's not room for many more. There's not that many, that area isn't that big.
and actually, this isn't updated information. It's a year old, right?
It's just less than a year old. It's probably about 9 months, 8
There
months
could be
old.
over 100 right now.
It could be. I mean, look at Strand alone. I mean, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. It's like 30 of them, 25 of them on Strand alone. And there are many more houses on Strand, Aline, many more. That's just one street. Look at Pier Avenue, that one building has 15, 20 of them in that one building on Pier Avenue. McCarthy, look at all the ones on McCarthy alone. And there are some on the other side of McCarthy that are not vacation rentals yet.
Well, maybe we should up the number to 150. Keep them all on that
And why
side.
have a number? Literally, why have a number is my question.
Yeah, could be. Why? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I mean, you have a number so that all of your housing stock doesn't become vacation rentals.
And unfortunately, I'm happy with 100. I'd be happy with 50. But honestly, this tide has, how are we going to turn this tide? I guess is my question. When look at how bad it is already with none at all. It's going to be a 7, 8, 9, 10 year month process. We've got to do something now, stat immediately. This is out of control, is my thought.
Well, there's a process that has to happen, and that is not an immediate process.
Right. So this is what's happened when we've done nothing.
Yeah. Maybe we could say 150 is a decent number, is more than nice for that area.
I mean, if we want to sacrifice that area because that's not really where the residents of our community live, so that we can make them less in
Yeah.
the residential part of town, I don't know what you'd call it, real Oceano. And not to say that that side of Oceano is not real, it absolutely is. It's just not where the day-to-day people whose kids walk to school live.
Mhm.
Well, if we get a lot of tax money off of this,
Mhm.
now, if there was an agreement from the county that that TOT tax money was utilized for Oceano, that would give me somewhat different perspective.
Right.
Like,
Given that Oceano's just, I mean, the county's just ripping it off,
Right.
then why should we give them even
Any of it.
more money
I
Yeah.
agree.
from us? I mean,
maybe like some type of compromise.
And
Give
the
us
T,
the tax money there, and you can have 80% of it be vacation rental. I don't know.
see,
wait, that means then we are throwing those residents over on that side. You know, they, to me, they have just as much right as everybody else.
Yes, I
You
understand.
know,
that.
if you lived over there, Aline, would you want 5 houses surrounding you of people who are there just for, you know, bachelor and bachelorette weekends? I mean,
No.
I would feel like, well, I'm still a resident too, even if I live on the beach side of town.
I think that, Aline, to your point of it, you're thinking that it's like, well, this is too strict. I mean, the reason we're at this point now is because we're the last beach town in the whole county to do anything about this.
But
And
we have to do something about it. I'm just,
I think we have
I-
almost 100 now because we've been lax.
uh-huh. I just want the community to buy in and for us to, so that when we go to the Board of Supervisors, it's a slam dunk. I don't want to be waiting 3, 4, 5 years down the road.
Well,
Oh,
yeah. So I don't know. I frankly don't know many people who support having a vacation home in their vacation rental in their neighborhood.
The people who own the vacation homes. Those are the people who support it, literally,
Right.
and their friends.
Well, and the corporations here that
Yes.
own.
Mhm.
and those who are bought off by corporations.
Yeah.
So yeah, they're there for. So these homes were built as single family residences. They're now hotels. And they make money for the county and they make money for the people who own them. They just don't serve as a place for people to live anymore.
Or serve the community with the money that it earns
Right, or vote in our community.
in our community. I understand, Aline, your concept of we already have it at a certain amount, so let's not alienate more or whatever. I personally would be more willing to leave that side open to some more. So like you were saying, up that side, maybe some, because in the end, the TOT on those residences are a lot higher than the TOTs on, a 2-bedroom bungalow on 24th and Paso Robles
Yes.
compared
yes,
to,
so
a
that's what
4-bedroom,
I'm saying.
2-bath house.
Up it
That's
a little, up it
4.
some, like, I don't know, to 150 and say, okay, well, we'll take 50 more. That's it, because we're being more than generous, more than nice. It's disturbing the
And
whole,
there's no rule that says we have to be generous at all or more than generous alone. So, I mean, I know
No.
that's your motto, but look what being generous gets us. It gets us to be doormats.
So what about the landward side? In the draft, it says 0 vacation rentals on the landward side, all existing ones grandfathered in. But the vacation rental permit is canceled upon sale of the property.
I definitely like the canceled on sale. Because then that gives people, either they can reapply at the newer rate, if there's a newer rate, whatever it may be, have, be seen and have accountability again. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, let's say they wanted to improve the property or they wanted to do something, we look at the property again because new people want to reapply for a permit. I like that idea myself. If you already have it, you're going to keep it, you're grandfathered in. But if the property sells or change of ownership in some way, just like any new permit, if you wanted a new permit, you'd be looked at, that would cause it to be looked at again.
That's a strategy for getting the existing vacation rentals on the inland side down to zero.
That could be construed that way.
Well, so for me, that's my goal. Zero vacation rentals on the inland side.
And I would think that when we say things like that, and then the community hears things like that, that maybe they don't think that we're in this for everyone's best interest, and that maybe we have our own agendas, and that concerns me. While I may agree, I just think of how the community could hear those words and what it means to them.
I do think myself, it's a little strict, Charles. It's too strict. Even I, I would hate to have a vacation rental on, to be honest with you, on my block, but I could handle, I think I could handle 20 vacation rentals on this side. No more. I think we're too small.
Yeah, well, you're gonna have to give me a better argument than that.
How about that we restrict on our side what's grandfathered in? And again, let me rephrase that, not our side. Restrict on the non-beach side, that we restrict it to the ones that already have them. And we give a cap number, whether that's, 30, whatever, but grandfather in what's here. And then maybe we restrict it to, you must be on site. You can only rent a room or an ADU unit in the back of the property, or, do you know what I'm saying? You don't just get to have a completely empty house to rent out. More like how Bonnie's situation is, where she lives on site and rents out.
That is already the law.
But if we could maximize that, I would feel more comfortable giving an option for people. Like right now, you're grandfathered in whether you live on site or you don't on the non-beach side. But then over time, if you apply for a permit, you must only live in it, and it's capped at 30 in that community. Total.
Right.
Is
So,
30 too much for you, Charles?
huh?
Is 30 too many? You don't want any?
If one of them's across the street from me, it's way too much. I mean, I live in a single family neighborhood.
On a dead end.
That's why I spent $250,000 buying my house
I know.
20 years ago. And I don't want to live across the street from a hotel
Okay,
full
so,
of odors.
okay, so looking at it from that perspective, to be honest with you, I wouldn't want anyone on my block, any house, to be a vacation rental. So therefore, I should put myself in everybody else's shoes. So I kind of see
Who
where you're
does want
coming from. Yes, why should anybody else have to suffer that, right? So
Mhm.
maybe just grandfather the ones that are in here, just grandfather them in, and no more.
And what about the shoes, Aline, that, let's say you own a 3-bedroom, 2-bedroom house, whatever it may be, and it's just you, and you can rent that out and make enough money to pay the mortgage for that property as your investment. And that is your property. We have property rights in our county and our state. So who are we to tell you how to use your property when you have
Well,
property rights?
I mean,
That's
me, I'm seeing vacation rentals is different than rooms.
that's just renting out you either
Room.
rent out rooms to your house, or you don't live in your house and you rent it out to somebody.
Rooming.
And they live
Or-
there, this is a
That's
vacation.
not a vacation rental. That's what Bonnie has. I thought that was different. I thought that was called an Airbnb or whatever they're called.
Correct, it is. If you're, and that's going to be the big educational thing, because people are going to think, oh, I can't have it isn't a bed and breakfast, but I can't rent out a room
Mhm.
on a short-term basis. And they can. That's perfect.
I don't have an issue with renting out rooms, and because I'm not, to me, we're not talking about rooms here. We're not talking about ADUs. We're talking about empty homes, right?
Right,
Homes.
Homes that are kept empty in order to rent them out as
Right.
vacation rentals, either by people who can afford to buy another house and they want to use it as a vacation home. And so they have it reserved for themselves for the month of July and September and December. And all those other months, they have beach bum rentals that manage it for them and rent it out as a vacation rental home.
Mhm.
That is the, and the argument there is that we need to do that because otherwise we can't afford to pay the taxes, and this is our parents' home, and us kids are making money off of it and all of that. And I understand that. And that's why, you know, these existing, let's say there's I don't know how many there are now. Probably need to get that nailed down, but you know, the beach side is the sacrifice zone. But I think there needs to be a limit there as well. And I'm open to raising that up to, yeah, I guess I'd say probably 125.
how about 125 on that side and 25 on the non-beach side? Because right now we're at 24 that are legit on the non-beach side.
Right. But with the proviso that they, why let any more in? Why not just say that the current ones are grandfathered in, but when the house is sold, they lose the permit? Because the goal is to get rid of vacation rentals on the inland side of Oceano. Right.
Okay, so instead of saying allowed 25, you're saying allow none except what's grandfathered in, and then those will eventually, I don't remember the word, but get out of there over time as the property sold. That's what you mean?
Right.
Okay. I get you. Okay, I understand what you're saying.
Because if the permit goes with the property, it is a more valuable piece of property for an investor.
Mhm.
It's a setup for an investor.
Oh, absolutely. It's a way to keep it the same and never go back to being single family home.
Right.
Home. Yeah,
Right. Given that we have no place to put new homes
correct.
in this community.
And it also would be one less thing for the county to keep track of. Oh, are we at 29? Are we at 24? You know, what number? We don't have to deal with that if we just go only what's grandfathered in now. And moving forward, those will come out of the system as the house sells.
Mhm.
So you see what grandfathered in gets you. It gets you a manufacturing of ice company with a well that no one's heard about, getting free water so that he can make a profit. That's what grandfathering in is, really.
Mhm.
Right, non-conforming pre-existing condition.
And somebody has to keep track of that, because this man who was just before us, he had the same situation on something different, but same situation, that no one knew he sits there with a well. It's not, the county didn't know, the OCSD didn't know, nobody knew because he was grandfathered in. So I just hope we have better regulations on that. That's what I mean with my conversation.
For the moment, I want to ask a question that's a little different, and that is, where would be, if we want to blow the whistle on these, the red ones,
Mhm.
or at least raise the question, I guess, would the appropriate county office be basically code enforcement?
Yes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So we would send them this list. For them.
And I'm happy to do that if that's something the council wants. I'm happy to follow up on that. I do public records requests ad nauseum and can easily send them this list and ask, you know, which ones are legit, and can you please provide the permit/license number for this list?
Oh, so you would send them this list and ask them to do the research.
Well, I would say these are the lists that I or we, or however we want to word it, if we don't want the OAC to be tied to it quite yet, and you just want me to do it, I'm happy to do it. But either way, that we would say, this is a list that's been compiled that we see. And if you click on those links where it says Beach Bum and Airbnb next to those names,
Yeah,
that's a direct link to that website of that property for rent right now, or at the time that I compiled this list. So I've done all the homework for them. I would give them this list and say, please provide current permit numbers. And if they can't, then I would say you need to enforce the fact that they're running a vacation rental that's not in compliance.
yeah, okay. Okay, well, so to put this in perspective, remember that whatever we ultimately agree upon with regards to the content of the ordinance, in this case, we've been talking about the numbers. If we agree to 125 or 150 on the beach side and no new ones and grandfathered in on the inland side with that point of sale, that permit goes away. And you know, and we discuss the edits. And once we get that document together, I think moving forward with that document and at the same time then sending this, you know, and I think to couch it in terms of, you know, based on our research, this anomaly came up of all of these that are being rented.
So we
But
just don't find a
we
permit.
have no evidence of that they're permitted.
Correct.
So we're sending this to code enforcement for their research and follow-up.
Correct. Yeah.
How did you, April, you found them on the web? What do? You go to the Airbnb section or what?
Yes, I do. And I look at a map and they don't put their address per se in Airbnb, but they put a lot of photos and they put a lot of description. And this is my hometown. So I just go driving around the neighborhood going, oh, that looks like the outside of this address. Oh, that looks like where their Google Maps picture,
Uh-huh.
that looks like about this location over across the street from the elementary school. There's another thing. So if we have vacation rentals around the school, how do we know Megan's law is being followed?
Well, I really appreciate your
Mhm.
detective work.
So if you like, just go to the one I just did, sorry. If you go to the, I think it's line 137, Pepper Tree Inn, and you click on that and open that,
There it
those
is.
are little, almost like tiny homes, I would call them, that are on the property of that RV Sands RV spot.
Pismo Sands or whatever.
Mhm. So you see, it's got its address right there at Pismo Sands RV Resort.
Mm,
It's literally right there in the top of their description.
mhm. Hmm.
That's how I found them, because I searched stuff.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's what I mean by every one of those is a link to an actual, the website of it for rent. At least it was the last time I looked. I don't know, maybe something.
And here I was thinking that those were privately owned by individuals that just bought them and lived somewhere else and vacationed there. No, this is
They're owned by, the property itself is
property.
owned by
Oh,
Pepper
they're
Tree
actual
Inn.
vacation rentals. Those are vacation
Yes.
rentals.
Yes.
Oh,
But are they really vacation rentals? They're not a single family house. They're at an RV park.
They are. So Charles, if we want to bifurcate the fact that we're not losing housing stock with this rental in particular, but we are losing TOT
Um,
because it's not registered. It's not permitted, it's not licensed.
Uh-huh, yeah, yeah.
That's the difference.
Right, okay, got it.
So when we look at, I don't know, 1966 Elm Street, that's an actual home. I couldn't even tell you, I don't know well enough to know if, like, let's say they renting just a room or they're renting the whole home. I don't know. So that's a Beach Bum Rentals. That's one that they had on their property. So I don't know if they still have it. I haven't looked at this in a little while, but 1966, whatever the street is. But that's how I found these things, is I just went on Airbnb. I went on, I'd list a street name and type in vacation rental and see what came up. So these are all of these that you're looking at are all vacation rentals that take away from housing stock that residents don't get to live in. And those are mostly on the beach side. Here's another one. So there's one that's 20th Street.
So,
Oh, here's the perfect one. That one that's on 20th Street that on my list at the bottom,
What's the
it
number?
is item number 138. It says 1459 20th Street. That's literally across the street from the elementary school, down a block or two from the, what is that, community center.
yeah, I've seen that home.
Right. And
But
so by
it's
these photos, I knew the general idea of where it was. So I drove down the road and I'm like, oh, yep, there's that funky fence with the bell glass on top of it. And I confirm that really is an address.
But this is more like a room, so it's not.
But
going-
again, we're losing TOT. That's why it's on the list.
Oh, okay.
It's not about it being a full home that is not available for owners or renters, community renters. It's about, that's not even being paid into the county for TOT.
Right, so these aren't just vacation rentals.
No,
Identified. These
I
are.
mean, they're all vacation rentals. There's not necessarily only homes, full homes.
Yeah, it's TOT tax that's not being.
Right,
Exactly.
and technically, and this is a hard one, but vacation rental only applies to homes that are empty, that are rented out to people for no more than a 7-day period or something, or no more than 30 days, but no more than 4 parties in a month.
Mhm.
So this, I wonder if Jennifer is the person that lives there, the super host.
Apparently, it's hosted by Jennifer.
Yeah, okay.
So $84 a night on this side of the road versus, $250 a night on the other side of the road. Keeping the other side of the road more full with vacation rentals financially would be smarter because the TOT would be higher on the higher rents.
Right, right. Okay. So what, okay, now, what about the edits? Do we want to get into those now and see what agreements and disagreements there are about it?
Are we ready to really lock down something? Outside of the number of units, what you wrote up, Charles, or however it was compiled to you and somebody, however, I have no problem with it. It's great. My only thing that I wanted to discuss really was, are we ready to give a limit yet until we really know the full scope of how many are out there? What is the story of these rentals? That's kind of where I came from.
Well, I mean, I think that if there aren't any problems with the edits, then the question is really the numbers. And I guess I would feel more comfortable if we had current data on what's going on in Oceana with regards to vacation rentals. I think that if we do decide that, the burden does somewhat fall on you, April, because you're the pro with this. And I don't know what your capacity is. Or
I'm fully able, I can say that first thing that I would like to do, if you guys want to give me some responsibility, is the first thing I'd like to do is provide the county with the list of the bottom section so that they can follow up and confirm either there are or there are not permits for the ones that I found that I couldn't find permits for, incorporate that into my existing list, and then from there, confirm with the county that all those permits are current as of today.
But what about the ones that aren't on your list? Because your list is a year old. What about all the?
Oh,
new-
I can take a few minutes and go through the way that the county, bless you. It's okay. The way that the county has the website is it's the little APM plots, you know, the little squares that are the properties, kind of like the, how the OCSD did the districting maps where you could click on sections. It's like that. So they have it in a certain color that are the ones that have permits for these vacation rentals. And I can just go and click on any of those for anything that's new and an address I don't recognize and incorporate that into the list. But I don't need the county to do that. I can do that in the next week or so. But the county part would be to have them look at the bottom section of that part, that list.
Okay, so the request to the county is that, I mean, basically all innocent, you know, these came up in sort of cross-checking, looking at ads for, you know, vacation rentals, Airbnbs, and these came up, but I could find no permits. And so.
Please provide the permits for them.
Right.
Yeah.
We want to have an accurate list as we move forward with a vacation ordinance.
And they're supposed to respond to public records requests, I think 10 days. So by our next meeting, I should have a response to that and have been able to incorporate it into my spreadsheet.
So you will be writing this letter on behalf of the OAC.
Just for that part, to confirm, to review those ones that are missing, yes. And then on my own, on behalf of the OAC, I would go confirm that there's no new ones that have been permitted since my list was created, or some that have come off the radar since then.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's not through I don't have to contact the county.
On your list, could you separate the ones that are just like renting a room?
I don't know, it doesn't necessarily say that to me
Oh, because
on
of the-
their
on
permit. It
vacation.
just says it's permitted to be a vacation rental.
If it's, listen, if it's, remember, for the county, vacation rental means specifically it is a house that in its entirety is being rented out.
The whole,
I would have to go and look and see how I can determine that based on the permit itself. Because I know like Bonnie has a certain kind of permit. I know that across the road from me, if you guys are aware, at the corner of 22nd and Highway 1, there's a little vacation rental right there. But they've registered theirs as a bed and breakfast, as a B&B, which is a whole different registration. And they're the only ones in Oceana that are registered that way. But they have a certain permit that says that. And just like Bonnie has a certain permit that says her style. I have not seen on a permit a difference that says it's a room or it's an entire house. I haven't seen something on a permit that shows me that.
The title of the permit would be different, I would think. You have
I
an
will look.
Airbnb permit, you have a vacation rental permit. I don't know what the,
The words Air,
Okay.
B, and B is a company name like Q-Tip or Xerox.
right.
So
and they have everything. They have the whole home.
exactly.
And
They
the
have a
So for our
5
numbers
acre
to be-
lot.
for our numbers to be accurate, we have to have just the home ones.
Right.
Oh, no.
And I will look to see if I can get that answer.
On
Okay.
on our website, and I think it's in the ordinance, and maybe I didn't include it, but it should be. But in that report done by the Cal Poly student that's on our website on vacation rentals in Oceano, she lays out the definitions of the three very clearly. So you might want to take a quick look at that.
I can do that for sure.
Yeah, it's right kind of in early on in the document.
Okay.
Okay, so then we'll push this to the next meeting.
I have homework.
Thank you so much, April.
Of course, I love that kind of research. You know that. Give me a spreadsheet and a cup of coffee in the morning and I'm a happy girl.
Okay. All right, then moving on to, if we're ready to move.
Sure.
Curbs, gutters, and sidewalks, really nothing new to report here. As I mentioned last week, there's parents at Oceano Elementary School looking to get the crosswalks that are adjacent to the school, get them upgraded to high visibility crosswalks and doing some other stuff. And I'm working with them as a citizen on that. So I don't have anything else to report about it right now. The beautification award certificate.
Oh, I have not had a chance to go find any kind of template, but
We'll
it's on my to-do.
keep that there. Then I think in terms of updates and action items, just update on the web page. The calendar is now populated with links, and
Okay.
so Holly finished off that piece with Aleen's assistance, and thanks a lot, Aleen, with her on that.
And I just wanted to make sure, I mean, I did mention, this is an update, I guess, sort of. You know, that I will no longer be the representative at the OCSD for our council because of the vote. And they did send a formal letter email to us. I don't know if you saw it, Charles. They sent it
I
to,
did not see it. Would I get a copy of that as well?
I could forward what
Yeah,
I have.
Shouldn't everybody on the council get it?
They sent it, I can't remember if this, I know I saw it, but it could just because I'm on the OCSD, but I did see it addressed to Charles, addressed to you specifically. So it was just what I said, but in a formal letter.
Did you
This is
get
to
it, Charles?
advise you that you
No.
no longer have a representative on the OCSD as of that date. The OCSD board voted to no longer have, however they worded, a committee to represent on the OCSD or something like that. Signed, Will Clemens.
well, I mean, I can't guarantee,
It's just a formal.
and I lost it, you know, but I'm
Yeah, I'll
pretty-
forward it to you, but I mean, it's just
Okay,
a
all right.
what a
forward it to
formal way of them saying you no longer.
No, I would like to see that being a member of the OAC.
right. So forward it, Debbie. I appreciate you forwarding it to the rest of us
Okay.
already. Okay.
It's been brought to my attention that our agenda did not have a meeting time on it.
Oh. Huh. Okay. That can be, I just used an existing
Resolved.
one and changed it, so I can add that to the next one. Thank you.
Mhm.
Um,
And then Charles and I had discussion about some airport stuff. Did we want to talk about that on a different meeting or?
Yeah,
wait?
I think well, we were, yeah, it's let's
I'm still waiting for some more public records requests if
Right.
that matters.
well, so we're gonna have that agendized for the airport renovation plan letter to the Coastal Commission. And so as maybe we can have some offline discussion about the kind of the parameters of that item
Okay.
when we look at it.
Mhm.
So treasurer's report, there's nothing new to report from last week. OBCA is not meeting, and OCSD, I guess there's no reason you can't give us a report on the OCSD.
I mean, we haven't met since our last meeting.
Yeah,
Because I just gave that report. I mean, that meeting, basically the most startling news of that meeting was that they voted not to have the council represented there anymore. So that was a shocker.
well, it's we just move forward. What about the now with A22 defeated?
Mhm.
Do we want to bring back the this topic into the agenda of the OAC?
I mean, I think it's important once, if it's coming up on the OCSD agenda, if it's going to be thoroughly discussed. It was barely even mentioned, if mentioned at all, at our meeting. I was kind of
Mhm.
surprised.
Did you bring it up then?
No, I didn't, because I thought it was going to be like a bigger deal. I mean, like they were going to say, we're not discussing it because we're very hopeful that the ballots come, more ballots come through, and or something like that. But it was more like, okay, we're still, they did mention it, but it was just very low key.
I think with the new counting, nothing changed on A22. It's definitely not gonna pass.
And there will be options.
Right.
And I think we need to be involved in those options. So yes, in the future, yes, the near future.
Well, so I mean, maybe we don't need to have it on the agenda for next first meeting in July, but I know I'm gonna go as a citizen to OCSD meeting next Wednesday to address the defeat of A22. And ask for what are the next steps. I certainly would hope that there's a very transparent process, that any meetings are open to the public, that in fact even local citizens are invited in, or there's some task force or something that is really open to the public. Is there anything else?
No, I have homework. I know what I need to do.
Okay. Well, ladies, nice spending another Thursday night with you.
I'll send you that email right now, Charles.
Already. Okay.
Alrighty.
All right. We'll be seeing you later.
All right, bye guys.
Motion to adjourn.
Oh, I move that we adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
Second.
All in favor, hit
Aye.
leave,
Okay,
leave. Bye.
there you go. Ending the meeting for all.